knows he is COVID positive when he steps into this public lift. Already breaking so many rules, he doesn't bother to cover his mouth as he sneezes and splutters. The 27-year-old is still infectious but has gone missing from his Wentworth Point apartment. A warrant now issued for his arrest.
This 27-year-old chap, who apparently has expressed the view that he doesn't care less whether he spreads the virus, is one example of the worst of the worst.
So a national manhunt for a man who sneezed in an elevator. That's the state of play in modern-day Australia. Not everyone in the country is on board with this, but since Australians were completely disarmed by their government several years ago, there's precisely nothing they can do about it, so it's accelerated. Look at what's happening now. They're being crushed. This was the scene in Melbourne, the second most populous city in the country, in the past month. Watch.
Why are you hitting him, you We're trying to get through. We're trying to go home. We're trying to go home. We're trying to go home.
The government cracking down on Islamic extremists, dangerous revolutionaries in their midst? No, just ordinary Australians complaining, demonstrating peacefully against the lockdowns, beaten by police. There's a lot of footage like this from Australia, and in a moment we'll show you more. This isn't all of Australia. The whole country is not locked down. In Australia, most of the lockdowns are in the eastern part of the country. That's where the capital of the country is. That's where the federal government has the most control. The western part, the less populated part of Australia, meanwhile, which is home to most of the country's natural resources, isn't locked down at all. 50,000 fans just crowded inside a stadium for a rugby match in Perth, the capital of Western Australia. No one was beaten with nightsticks or hosed by the police. The rugby match was not a super spreader event. Western Australia has had virtually no cases of COVID. How does that happen? How does Western Australia not lock down but remain virtually COVID-free? Simple, by controlling its borders. Western Australia did not let thousands of people stream in from anywhere they wanted to in the world. They're not Texas. They didn't care about protecting their borders. They weren't worried about being called racist. It seemed common sense, and it worked. And here's the revealing thing. In Australia, the federal government is angry that Western Australia has closed its borders. They want that part of the country to open those borders. Really? Why would that be? Well, according to ABC News, Australia's government is, quote, arguing that Western Australia's internal border restrictions are a drag on the national economy, end quote. Well, that's kind of interesting, because the problem with Australia's economy right now does not come from Western Australia closing its borders. It comes from the lockdowns. Those are the biggest drag on the national economy ever conceived in Australia. So are those police SWAT teams beating people for going outside. COVID mandates are a far greater threat to Australia's economy and its social fabric than COVID itself. Here's the health minister of Queensland in Eastern Australia explaining that outdoor mask mandates are absolutely necessary because of 2 new COVID cases. That's 2, not 200,000 or 2,000, but 2. Watch.
What these 2 new cases mean is that we will be extending immediately the directive in relation to mask wearing to the Gold Coast.